So, to my introduction and who am I? So my name is Petri Kairinen. Very nice to meet you. I started as the CEO of Admicom in June 20th last year. So I've been CEO a little bit more than 1 year in Admicom. And during that time, I've been leading a strategy refresh work for Admicom, a construction SaaS company. And I will walk you through of that, of where have we coming from and where are we going, I guess more interesting from investor perspective. For myself, before joining Admicom, I used to work in a other Finnish company, a Nixu Corporation, a cybersecurity company, where I was the CEO for 8 years. And I did the IPO and internationalization of Nixu to Sweden, to Denmark, Netherlands, Romania, Norway, for example, and grew the company from 10 million euros to 50 million euros in revenue and 100, 400 employees. To my sad feelings, Nixu is now being delisted from Helsinki Stock Exchange. So it was bought by DNV this spring, and it's now going to be delisted. But almost 10 years in the stock exchange for Nixu. And before that, I've held several sales and marketing related roles in international high-tech companies. But that's about me. I guess much more interesting, of course, is Admicom and why to listen for this presentation. First of all, what I want to tell you about is the strong SaaS foundation, software as a service foundation of Admicom. We are a SaaS company providing a base for us for our growth journey from a ERP software to a fully construction technology related software company. I will tell more about that later. I will give you the sort of the drivers for growth. We are a growth company, and then what are the drivers that will keep us growing on the long term in our strategic perspective, and then sort of what are the measures for success. So how are we measuring ourselves against the competition, and how do we see our numbers going forward? Maybe a little bit about Admicom in a nutshell before we jump into more details. Probably Admicom might not be that familiar company to you, as we are still purely Finnish-based company and Finnish Stock Exchange listed. So I now want to share you this pearl of the Finnish Helsinki Stock Exchange and give you some understanding of who we are. So we are a vertical SaaS provider. Vertical means that we have a very focused niche of customers which we are serving and providing them SaaS software. So software from the cloud provided as a recurring revenue streams with a monthly invoicing. And these things gives us two things. They gives us a very sort of focused client focus. We know who our clients are. We know how to meet their needs. And at the same time, it gives us very predictable revenues and recurring revenue streams. We have a 100% cloud-based solution portfolio, and we were the first SaaS ERP provider in Finland for the construction industry when the company was established in 2004 and did a rapid growth journey to this date, and then was listed in Helsinki Stock Exchange list in 2018. Nowadays, we have about 260 employees in 6 different locations in Finland. And the founder, Matti Hell, who is not operative anymore, is owning still about 20% of the shares. And then we have a large institutional ownership base, which actually quite many are Swedish institutions. There is SEB, Tin Fonder, Odin, Swedbank Robur, and then Danske Bank and such institutions that are owning large proportions of the company. And in that way, we now have a proper corporate governance and pretty transparent governance model on how we operate. Last year, we did 31.6 million euros in revenues, and around 90% of that revenue is recurring, coming from over 3,000 different SME customers. So we are focusing on the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, the ones that don't need that many softwares, but when they get one, they are really dependent and they want to utilize that ERP software to really get their business rolling and be efficient in their business. Nowadays, our software suite is comprising of 2 different ERPs, Adminet and Hillava, and then Tocoman cost calculation and scheduling toolings, and Kotopro mobile documentation tool. We've been, as a company, running consistently above rule of 40, which is a source of SaaS calculator, meaning that our growth percentage plus our EBITDA margin is over 40 together. And last year, or this year, we are estimating that our EBITDA margin will be in the 35 to 40% brackets. So we are very profitable as a company, even though we are a growth company. And this is the strong foundation from which we are building on. So the company was founded in 2004, and there was a sort of development phase quite a long time. In 2010, the go-to-market phase started, and there was a rapid scale-up phase, 2014, 2017, and then after the listing, we started a horizontal expansion, widening the construction, the first construction focus also into the industrial clients, and in 2020 also opening up the M&A and acquiring, for example, the Tokoman cost calculation and the Kotopro in 22. So there's been also acquired entities, and of course, as you can see from the growth figures, they've been really nice numbers, and at the same time the revenue, the profitability has been scaling similarly or even faster than the revenues, and this gives us a really nice foundation for our next growth journey. And what we, as a kind of main topic, what we decided in the beginning of this year is that we will sort of not try to widen our ERP focus into different industries outside of construction and building engineering, but instead we will focus into the building ecosystem, which we think of the construction sector as a whole, including building maintenance, including plumbing and electricity and so on. And the reason why we are doing that is that we see a big megatrend in the area of construction software, construction technology. There are several studies that are stating that the buildings and construction is actually the least digitalized business in the world outside of agriculture. And it means that the productivity in these areas has been lacking for many years. So the other industries have benefited from use of ICT and digital tools, but in the construction, the adoption has been laggard, and the kind of the systems are not there. And as many of you might have been running some renovation or construction projects, and you know that typically nothing is ever on time and nobody knows what is happening. And unfortunately, this is not a joke, it is fairly true. And if and when you can map the data, when you have real-time systems that are mapping that data, then finally, I hope and believe that things will be on time, and you can follow through to your construction process and also get it productive from the entrepreneur's views. So this is the big belief for us. There needs to be productivity improvements in the construction sector, and this is the sort of the journey where we are now really putting focus on going forward. We defined in our strategy a North Star for us, so a sort of mission statement of where we are aiming as a company. And based on that, we said that in 2030, about 7 years' time, we want to be 100 million euro ARR company, meaning that we have annual recurring revenues top of 100 million euros. That means that we are about 3 times as big as we are today. And how we're going to reach that is that we're going to provide our customers with about a quarter more productivity than their peers who are not our customers, meaning that by utilizing our software suite, the clients will be more productive in their business. They will need less people in their back office financing, and their field force at the work site will be much more efficient, and they will have less maintenance reparations because of badly worked quality and so on. And we will focus on the customer experience. We will live for the construction industry, and we will provide a seamless connection between the software and value-add services, for example, accounting services, which we are providing to our clients that are utilizing our ERP. Now, of course, the AI is providing other possibilities. So machine learning and utilizing of AI gives us huge potential in the future, as we already have a data stack of about 3,000 client companies and their data about different construction projects and different ways of running business. So when we can pull on to that insights and intelligence in the near future, we can provide much more actionable data to our clients. And of course, we need to be a good employer for our people. We need to be the best workplace that is raising and training people and providing sort of transparent working culture, as in any modern company nowadays. And last but not the least is the internationalization strategy. So far we've been present in Finland, but now in our strategy we said that as we are focusing in the construction industry, we also want to widen our market space, meaning that we want to be present in numerous markets in European area. We have not yet stated which those markets will be and then which is the way of reaching those markets, but we are working on that strategy right now and expect to release something by the beginning of the year. For Swedish case, I can say that we have been, since summer, we've been operating a sales team also in Sweden and are sort of opportunistically evaluating possibility for the mobile documentation system, and we've gained our first clients in the Swedish market as well. So kind of taking our first baby steps outside of Finland right now. This is the phasing of our strategy. We feel that as we've now put together several companies during the M&A phase that we've been doing, we are during this time, 23-24, strengthening the platform. We are increasing the cross-sell capabilities, doing technical integrations, and increasing the R&D expenditures to get the platform really running and building up the operating model. This is of course simultaneous to the recession phase that is hitting the markets, and especially here in Finland, we see the construction downturn, and definitely things are not that busy right now. We've still seen our sales go up, and we are quite well aligned to sail through the recession. And our thinking is that once the recession is over, then we will push into the accelerated growth phase, where we will also open up international markets outside of Finland. And reach a faster growth, where we expect to reach a plus 15% organic growth each year, and augment that with targeted M&A. These are the key figures for the year running so far, based on our Q3 results. So our recurring revenue growth was 14.7% points, and a comparable organic recurring revenue growth, so discounting the acquisitions, was 12% points for this year. Our EBITDA percent, even though we are running in sort of investment phase right now, was still 39.3% points of the revenue, and our ARR was 32.7 million euros. Recurring revenues totaling 93% points. What we have seen during this year, it has been the sort of the cross churn increasing, and especially the bankruptcies of the construction sector clients have been increasing here in Finland. Once the sort of the downturn in construction starts to get better, let's say that once we are starting to see the bottom right now, and we expect that it will start to raise gradually towards the summer next year. And that is actually a good time to be selling ERP and other productivity efficiency tools, because if the clients already know that now it's starting to look better and they know that they will survive this downturn, that is the right time to invest into an efficiency tooling, meaning digital tools. Because once the cycle is really hot, and once everyone is building construction, then they don't have any time to do any software projects anymore. So that's why it's actually the sort of the beginning of the upturn might be a good time to be selling digitalization again. So in that sense, we believe that we will sail this through and see quite interesting growth phases in front of us. The financial outlook for us this year is we estimate our comparable recurring revenue growth to be between 8 to 15%. And you can recall that the first 9 months it was 12%, and we estimate the EBITDA to be between 35 to 40% brackets. So clearly within the rule of 40, as I stated earlier. The purpose and vision. This is something that is clearly important for us, and you could see that purpose statement in my first slide as well. Building sustainable future together. We believe that the construction is actually one of those fields that is affecting the environmental matters and the climate change quite a lot. The use of CO2 emissions in the construction and so on is huge, and by there affecting the use of materials, affecting the use of right materials can mean a lot. At the same time, if you build quality buildings instead of crappy things that you need to repair, that's also savings from a sustainability perspective. And we have stated the purpose statement in a way that if we can increase the productivity of our customers, if the clients are secure in their business, if they are productive, then they have money to make investments into quality. They have money to reduce their CO2 emissions. And that will lead into sustainability of construction. And we believe that will also create a cycle of good, increasing the productivity of the customers as well. So that is sort of what is really inspiring our people and people at Admicom, that what is our handprint, what is our ESG handprint when we are sort of affecting the construction industry and making sure that they have visibility into the CO2 emissions and reducing those. You can do that without digital tooling, so very, very important topic. And of course, then there's a more commercial vision, which I guess it's inspiring at least me and lots of other leaders in the company as well, where we want to be the first choice of partner in the European construction software ecosystem. So widening outside of Finland, bringing the sort of the best practices and advanced digital tooling also outside of Finland, and helping the construction company SMEs in many areas of Europe to improve their productivity. Wrapping up my presentation part, I'm happy to take Q&A following this. So I want to share the Admicom investment highlights. First of all, we have a firm foundation to build on. We are not a growth company making losses. We are not a growth company that believes that their business will start to be flourishing someday and is selling sort of a future promises. We have a very firm foundation. We have a very solid cash flows. We are happy to build on that. And what we are building on is this huge long-term potential into construction technology or construction software. That is a worldwide reaching trend right now, which is affecting lots of investors, and they are seeing the potential there. This is the right time to be on the move, and this is the right time to be focusing on that area. And we are well positioned to do that with the current software stack that we are having. And that takes me to the third point, is comprehensive cloud-based SaaS suite. We don't have legacy on-premise software, which you would need to buy the licenses and then do a installation project. You can buy everything as a ready thing from the cloud, just take it into use, start paying monthly fees, and get your data there and get the best practice use in the construction sector. That is a very, very enticing offering. And then the fourth point from investor perspective, having the solid financials, having a solid governance, independent board of directors. I think that's an important thing if you are a stock exchange listed company, that you can provide the transparency and equality of the owners to everyone. So those are the things that we can offer. Tack så mycket. You will find a lot of more information from our investors page. And last January we had our Capital Markets Day, and that is also video there, and you can view the video, and there we will get within 3 hours much deeper view of Admicom than I was able to give you this evening. But happy to be here and happy to take questions.
Great, thank you so much, Petri. I think we can start collecting the questions, and I want to remind everyone on the line and say, if I didn't say it already, but you can write questions. So if you're looking at this from your browser, you can write questions underneath the stream, and I can see them over here. So if you have questions for Petri, you can send them that way. But in any case, we can start from questions in the room. So if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. We will bring you the microphone so Petri can hear you. And then Petri, just when we have a question, let me know if you didn't hear it so I can repeat it for you.
Can you open a little bit more your plans in Sweden and your situation here, other companies and so on? Thank you.
Are you working in any of our competition in Sweden?
At least not admitting.
So far, we do have a Swedish board member. We have a Camilla Skog, who used to work in Fort Knox in Sweden. Is joined our board last March. So we do have some affinity to Sweden. But right now, like I said, what we are doing is we are selling with very minimal effort. We are selling the mobile documentation tooling in Sweden. And we are sort of testing the market, understanding the market, learning more. It's sort of a market study for us, and it's very opportunistic. So we haven't yet defined our path to internationalization. So we haven't decided that Sweden will be the go-to-market or so on. So that's pretty much all I can comment right now. We are learning more.
Your recurrent business is very high, 93%. Does this mean that your business model is by subscription?
Yes, exactly. So we are a SaaS company, so software as a service, which means that it's a subscription-based pricing model. The clients are paying a monthly fee for the service, and it's a indefinite agreements. So it's not like 1 year or 2 year agreement, but the agreement goes on every year. So yeah, very good question. Thank you. Sorry for not explaining further.
No. Can you describe for us how does your client look like? Is it a small, medium size, or big, and exactly in what? Because building is a huge market.
Yeah, good question. The kind of the main and original focus of the company was the small and medium enterprises. And for the Adminet, which is the core ERP product, where still over 70% of our revenues is coming from that product, the sweet spot client was defined as being a 30-employee company with about 5 million euro revenue. So an entrepreneur running that sort of a company, having a few people at the office, and then most of these 30 people working at the construction sites, plumbers or electricians or so on. And that's still the sort of the sweet spot and kind of most of our business. But then we have actually widened from there to very small enterprises or companies, but then also very large companies. For example, the document cost calculation is used by most of the, or actually all of the large Finnish construction companies are using that. They are not using our ERP, but they are using the cost calculation softwares and so on. And similarly, the mobile documentation, Koto Pro, is used in very large organizations. But the ERP is focused into sort of the smaller ones. I think the largest companies using the ERP are something 150 million euro revenue-wise. And it is highly automated and highly standardized. That is the reason. So we don't tailor the ERP software to the clients, but they adapt to the process that the ERP is running. And that gives us, of course, very sizable scale benefits. So the clients take the software as it is, and it provides them the productivity that is planned into the system. But of course, when you go into larger companies, then they typically want to start tailoring, and that's why we don't go to those clients.
Seeing if we have more questions from the room. So far not. You can still raise your hand a bit later. Petri, I'll ask about a short-term thing. Of course, you were talking about the long-term ambition, but let's talk about the construction industry and the...
I almost guess what you will be asking.
You can also almost answer before I ask this, but the way the construction industry is doing right now, of course, is very, very tough out there, and that is a major reason why your customers have been leaving you recently, because there have been bankruptcies as well. What's your feeling of the overall situation in the construction market, and in terms of the discussions you're having, are we still going to a tougher spot? Are we seeing any kind of leveling in terms of how companies are looking forward?
Yeah, that is of course a really, really good question, especially on the short term. Whether you should invest in short term, that's another question. But I of course many people want to find that out, and I would need a crystal ball to really know about it. But what we are seeing right now is that as hopefully the Euribor rates are starting to flatten out, so the interest rates will not be raising anymore. Hoping so. The latest news were not so convincing, but anyhow, we are seeing that the plateau on the interest rates will be there, and that will sort of normalize the situation. So the new housing buildings in Finland have been almost frozen for several months now, because the investors don't buy new houses anymore. and the kind of the own home owners are waiting that what will happen with the interest rates and so on. That said, it's also important to understand that housing is not the only area of construction. There is a lots of office building, there is a lots of industrial building, and at the same time, there's lots of renovation projects and infrastructure projects going on. So overall, the construction is not doing as bad as the sort of the new housing building, and our clients are pretty evenly spread across all of the sectors. So we are not, if you are reading the Finnish newspapers, you would think that the sky is falling any day now, but that's not the way that we feel it being at the industry. And when will the worst be there? We expect that the worst will be there around New Year's time, and then will the most of our clients be suffering the worst. But then towards summer and so on, we expect that things will start to move on, and new things will happen. And the good thing in selling an ERP is that you are actually selling cash management. You are selling better visibility into your business. So that is one of the reasons why our sales are still succeeding. That many of the companies that have been running on pen and paper are now desperate to get software to kind of have a visibility in their cash balances and when is payments coming and going and so on.
Could I ask another question still on your international expansion? I know you're still in the works of defining how you're going to do that, but a broader question in terms of how realistic it is, because we know it's tough to go from one country to another, and I think it's fair to say that you've been quite successful in Finland, but I think in the financial software especially, it's maybe not been an easy way to go to another country because they have different practices in accounting and standards and the way integrations work to different tax authorities and so on. If we think of your internationalization as a big picture, how realistic is it to take your product to another country? How hard is it, and do you think there's a big risk to fail as well?
Yeah, and now, as you're asking that, it's good to remember that nowadays we have several products in our portfolio, and those products do differ in their way of internationalization. And if we now take the Kotopro, the mobile documentation tool that we are already selling in Sweden, that took us 1 month to localize to Swedish language, and now we are selling it already. So that was fast. But then if we take the core ERP product, the Adminet, then that task is definitely bigger, like you mentioned. There is a financial engine built into that system. There is a lot of integrations to different e-government systems and different building industry systems and platforms. And that is probably not our first way of internationalizing. So we will very likely not start localizing Adminet to Swedish market, for example. But what we could instead do is that we could acquire some local company in Sweden, maybe some ERP provider, and then bring on the other additional softwares that we already have in Finland on top of that ERP in Sweden. Or what we could do is start organically by selling the other software tools and then roll in with the Adminet later on when we see that the market is there and we do have clients. But like I said, this strategy is still in work, so this is very hypothetical thinking right now.
Thank you, Petri. I think we are at time already, so appreciate all the responses. We do have a question still in the chat box, but I think you're also present on our forum to answer investor questions. So I guess we can send that over to the forum, and you can answer that there later when you have time. Does that sound like a plan?
You mean the Inderes forum or
yes.
some other forum?
Yes.
Yes. I'm happy to answer those at the Inderes forum, or well, I guess you can't have them to my chat here right now. So maybe I'll then take them at the forum.
Yeah. All right. So we can continue with Petri in the forum. So like some other CEOs, Petri is there to serve the investors.